We're at the Global Energy Show with Gurpreet Lail, president
That's
of
correct.
Enserva,
Yes,
which used to be Petroleum Services Association of Canada, way back in the day.
way back. Well, way back to 2 years ago.
2 years ago, is that all? Well, that shows you how long I've been out of it. So we were just talking about the show and how it's been going on forever and ever and ever. And one of the things at the show, they used to have these big displays of all this iron that was out in the yard,
Yep.
of the big rigs and the service rigs, and so the show has always been kind of focused on petroleum services.
Absolutely.
So, what's your take on it now?
I think it still has that focus. It's just you don't see the big machinery out in the park, as you'll see that in the parking lot. You don't see a lot of the rigs here. You don't see a lot of trucking equipment, etc. But you do hear about what's taking place. And when we look at how industry is transformed, oilfield services is transforming too, and that's in the energy services side, supply, and manufacturing side. So you won't see as big of a footprint when it comes to equipment. But the difference in this year is, a lot of our members were here in the fall.
Yeah.
So I think that caused a little bit of an issue too, to try to figure out how do you do two energy-related shows in the same year.
The Petroleum Congress.
Yeah.
Right. So we were laughing because the services guys are, you think of them in the coveralls and the pickup trucks and the ones that are driving around out in the countryside, and now the whole industry is going, high tech, information services, and more like energy. Obviously, it must have been the reason why you rebranded, right?
Well, we rebranded for a number of reasons. Our membership was actually diversifying their business units, and then we were attracting new forms of energy membership into the association, and they needed a place where they could see themselves. And if you're just called petroleum, then you're not bringing people in. And we wanted to make sure that we were catching up with our membership that was already leading the way on innovation. And so we went through a full rebranding exercise, and we came up with Enserva, which represents energy services, supply, and manufacturing. But it's also in service of. We're in service of our members, and we wanted to make sure that, when we developed a logo, it showcased our membership that works, on getting energy out of the ground, above ground, and in the air. And we're hoping that this is what takes us into the next decade.
Excellent. So what's your take on the show?
The show's been really good in terms of making connections and ensuring that we can connect our members with certain companies that are working from different countries. I think from an industry point of view, there's been a lot of emphasis on technology and innovation, and that's where our members play. Like I always say, we represent the energy side of innovators and solution finders, and those are our members. So I like that they have that theme in this year's conference and show. I think we'd love to see more participation, obviously, coming in from international, but understanding that there's been competing priorities to make it here. So
yeah, and there was the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we all know about the cycles in the industry going up and down.
Well, the industry is always ebb and flowed for sure, but I think we're in a space right now that's actually keeping a consistent growth in energy, and the fact that we launched this campaign called Pink Energy, and the whole reason behind that was we wanted everybody to start thinking about energy a little differently. Like, why are we constantly defending an industry that people should be celebrating?
Right.
And that's why I was like, oh, enough. Like, nobody else is going to do it. We'll do it as an association. And we need people to start thinking about energy, whether you're going into artificial intelligence, you're going into machine learning, you're looking at labor jobs, skilled trades. You need to think about energy. If you want to think about a long-term career path and a fruitful career, think about energy. And that has to do with, you look at new Canadians, most of them don't know what energy services, supply, or manufacturing companies are and what they offer. We look at a lot of women who are thinking it's like my dad's energy time and not my daughter's future energy. And we wanted them to understand, energy has evolved. It's always been transforming. We've just never talked about it. Now we're talking about it. So
So are you doing some of those things, going into the universities and schools?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of our advocacy is to advocate at the university level to talk about what energy really is. So my daughter goes to Western University, and she took an environmental science class, and she came home after her first year and she said, Mom, what you talk about and what we're getting taught, there's a huge disconnect. And so that's when we said, oh, we're doing a disservice to industry if we don't go into universities and start talking about what's available, how do career paths from engineering or bachelor's of science, or if you're in a trade school, what do those career paths look like? And so we've been doing a lot of that. We also launched, under the umbrella of Think Energy, we launched a portal called Working Energy because we wanted to provide training, one-stop training place. We wanted to make sure that the portal provided job matches, and we didn't want to do the same old anymore. If our members are innovating, then as an association, we have to come up with new technology. And this is an opportunity for students to upload their profiles. They'll get matched with jobs. And if they're not qualified, that's okay, because it'll showcase what do they need to get, what certificates do they need to get, whether it's safety or not. And then they get matched with the right employer, or they get matched with employers that are willing to train them.
Excellent. So how is that situation looking in terms of workforce? Are there a lot of shortages?
Absolutely. Listen, COVID hit, the international pandemic, oil went down to $- a barrel. We lost a lot of people. And then there was this whole rhetoric that was out there in community, in the Canadian community, in North America, that oil and gas was a dying industry. And don't go get jobs there because we got to transition people away from oil and gas. And it's like, no, that's not the case. And so we had a lot of students that were like, there's no future for me. So why am I going to go into this sector? And, now we're saying, great, now we have this gap that we got to fill, and we need to attract students. We need to attract different markets that have never looked at this sector before to say there is opportunity here, lots of opportunity. Like for the service side, we have upwards of 3,000 to 4,000 jobs that were vacant. And that's why we thought we need to do something about this, and creating a portal that's just for industry, developed by industry, made the most amount of sense.
And, that's one of the things that we've been hearing around here too. Like a lot of the industries becoming a lot more environmentally focused as well. Social responsibility, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Which should appeal to young people.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, industry's always been conscious in terms of the last decade that I can speak to when it comes to environmental standards. Like if you compare Canada against the rest of the world of oil producing countries, we are the best. Difference is we're also very humble. We're very Canadian, so we don't talk about everything. But the transformation that we've made, and now we're talking about it because it's in the forefront. It's huge. Like we're drilling 70 to 80% more with 49% less usage of equipment. Right. And that's like 1.7 or 1.8 million acres of land that's been saved. Right. And those are the things that we want to get out there. So even on the environment side, our members were facing, there's these ESG reports that insurance companies are looking for, financial institutions are looking for. Then it transitioned into sustainability reports, and it became a process where we're like, our customers have to do this now. Our companies are going to have to do this. So let's get ahead of that a little bit. So we launched an ESG portal called One Path, so we could all get on the same path, report the same way, and it gives an opportunity for our companies to get ahead of the game a little.
Cool. So how would you sum up the future going forward? Where we're going to be like 10 years from now at this show?
So the future is bright. I will say that for industry. I never quote the IEA, but I can't believe I'm going to do this. There's one graph that I actually stole from them and utilized where they showcase that oil and gas is remaining steadfast until 2050 and beyond, while we bring renewables and new forms of energy into the mix. Like, it just can't happen all at once. And we're all working together to do better and to ensure that our future generation actually has access to energy. Like, our number one goal should be making sure that Canadians don't face energy poverty, but they're also unlocking Canadian energy to make the world a better place, because as Canadians, that's our job.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. That was fun.